we need to. There's people that are like, oh, Triple H is a good guy. Like Triple H, he wouldn't. He wants to work with everybody. This is the man that pillaged the UK scene, which by the way now gets an influx of talent and has nowhere to work. So great job, Triple
Yeah.
H. He's a great dude. Man who destroyed more careers from his bedside than anyone else in history. So I mean, like, I think we need to kind of the love affair of Triple H amuses me in professional wrestling. Um, are there too many people in AEW right now? Yeah, for sure. They
Yep.
oversign people. Will it get better if this Ring of Honor show is happens? Maybe. Are they signing people and deciding have like remorse? Because sometimes this happens in a lot of jobs where you sign a person, right? You have high hopes for them, and then it doesn't work out. And he's already said, I don't want to release people. I don't want to just release people. I'd rather have them employed the whole time and let the contract run out. They're independent contractors. They can work in other places.
He doesn't want to get killed on the internet
He doesn't
because
want to get killed.
WWE is getting killed left and right for doing that to people.
Mhm.
And I would say in most cases deservedly so, but they signed way too many freaking people. It was ridiculous. And they needed to cut people. Should they have done it during a pandemic when nobody else could find work? No, of course not.
No,
But
and
we're
then
in the endemic phase and you can work everywhere now.
right. And like they were doing, yeah, and he doesn't want to, but at the same time, if you want releases, a lot of people who have asked for releases have gotten them. Right? Not everybody.
Jonathan Gresham.
Not well, I want to know more about what's going on with that. So I mean, there's more going on that I want to know more about. But like other people that have asked for releases, Swole got her release. Like a lot of people have gotten released from their contract, and I think that he does. I don't think he wants people there who don't necessarily want to be. Like I think if Brian Cage was pissed off, I think he would be released.
I don't think Brian Cage wants to be released.
I don't think so either because he's making money and still doing all his shots.
He's getting that weekly check and he hits all the indies and he doesn't even have to go to TV. He would like to be on TV, trust me, but he's not. And he's like, well, shit, I don't want to kill my meal ticket, so I'm gonna go ahead and ride this thing out.
Right, which is a smart business move. So I mean, like, are there people who want more TV time? Of course, but I said this like before. I think of someone in the chat. It's like, oh, if you were in AEW, would you be pissed off at the machine guns coming in? My thought is, fuck them. Like, if you make your moments count. Look at the Acclaimed got over just for doing their silly scissor thing, and people love it. Like, give people a reason to care about you. Like, I'm far more interested in the Motor City Machine Guns than anybody they could put out right now.
Who are they going to team up with? Lethal Bear Country? What are we doing?
Iron Savages now. They're the Iron Savages.
Oh, excuse me, all the hell.
Yes.
Well, so Khan addressed the locker room. He delivered a tampering letter, and then he addressed some chain of command issues. He didn't talk about the Punk Hangman Cabana stuff, which I think that they're keeping that close to the vest. Hangman wasn't on the show last night. And then we did talk about so just real quick, because we've been running a marathon.
So what? Who cares? It's a Patreon. People pay for it.
Yeah, that is true, but I do need to go eat dinner at some point.
You get
yeah. So
not 11:30 where you live. Yes,
I know. I have a family in the other room. So so real quick, Sammy Guevara, Eddie Kingston. Do you care about this? I mean, it's funny, but
it's hilarious. I mean, I do find it funny that Tony Khan like, all right, I gotta just punish people when they screw up, and the first guy they punish is Eddie Kingston. Here's what I find funny: two guys, people like we have two arguments start for the same reason. Someone didn't clear content for a promo and it pissed them off, right?
Yes.
One guy, everybody goes, well, it's Punk. Like Punk didn't like that Hangman brought up the Cabana thing, right? So he's pissed off about it. But everybody gets on against CM Punk. Oh, CM Punk's a jerk. CM Punk's mean. CM Punk, Phil's a jerk. Blah, 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 blah. Eddie Kingston hits a dude because, again, words didn't get cleared and he didn't clear it. Like, it's the same exact situation. But everybody rushes to Eddie Kingston's defense because, and I love Eddie too, but because they love Eddie, right? It's so funny to me how fans doing it is one thing because you pick your favorites. But people who should know better are just, I hate to use the term being marked, but being a bit markish. Because it's the same
hypocritical. Markish.
Yeah. Like it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. But you don't like the one guy, so you're gonna go, well, he's a dick. He's a dick. I don't like him.
Yeah.
He's had problems before. So I just
Yeah.
it's amusing to me because I love Eddie Kingston too. But let's be real, that dude has had problems everywhere he's worked.
Yeah. And Eddie Kingston wasn't raised in a nice household. You know what I mean? Eddie Kingston came from the hood. If you disrespect him, he's gonna smack you. I respect that.
I do.
Should he have done it? No. But I'm not mad at him for doing that.
Who among us hasn't wanted to punch Sammy Guevara in the face?
Look, Impact had their run. It was Sammy. He was supposed to show up and he wanted to change all the finishes. So he drove all the way to Nashville and they said, "No, get out of here, kid." And they sent his ass back.
At
So
some
he's a
point, at,
everybody. Yeah.
at some point, Tony's got to go. Is this kid really worth all the? Because there's a lot of Sammy drama.
Yeah, and
Pretty
a lot of people don't
consistently.
like that guy. That whole feud that he had before, just yeah. Real quick, Thunder Rosa. You think this injuries are work, or is she just in trouble for being a pain in the ass? Because she's got some issues too. She's got a history too.
Does have a history. Could it be both?
Maybe the injury's not that severe. Every wrestler's always hurt all the time. But they're like, you know what? Why don't you take a break? Why don't you just get out of here for a while?
Could it? Okay, her matches have not been good. I thought she was really good before she became the champion, but since becoming champion, she has not had good matches. So, is it possible she's been working injured, and now that it's time to drop the belt, she just said, "I can't do it. I'm hurt." Like, could both things be true?
Could be, and I think that was true of Shawn Michaels back in the day. Like he obviously had an injury. He could have worked through it, but because he was going to drop the title, he said, "No, I'm not working through it." So that stuff happens. Brian Pillman Sr. He delayed all these throat surgeries he's going to have, and then found out he was going to be in that triple cage match. He said, "No, I really need to get the surgery now."
I got
like, I'm out. Yeah,
genius. What a absolute genius.
Genius. Like, yeah. So yeah, two things can be true at the same time.
And that's kind of what I think is the case with Rosa here. I definitely think she could work the match if she wanted to, but I think she's like, fuck Britt Baker. Fuck these. I don't want to lose. Yeah. I could definitely see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a mess. But I truly believe from disaster, good art could be created. I think last night when we got in that main event was phenomenal. Or not main event, but the main event. Let's be real. It doesn't matter when a match goes on. A main event doesn't have to be the last match of the night.
Can I tell you? I liked the Mox Punk thing.
I loved it.
I don't think I didn't like it as much as you did, and I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
And this isn't a brace for debate situation because I think we're along this. So I was at work yesterday and I had no cell signal, and I was in meeting after meeting after meeting. And I finally leave the building and my phone just blows up and I get, holy shit, what the fuck? Motor City Machine Guns, exclamation point. So I go through and I'm like, I have too many notifications to even go through. Overwhelming, right? So I get in my car and I'm driving home and I just call my cousin because he texted me a few times. I go, what the hell happened? And he goes, dude, I'm not a regular AEW watcher. You go, I'm probably, I keep up with it because I just don't have shit to do on Wednesday, but I watch more WWE. He goes, but what they did with Mox and Punk was bullshit. It was just a 4-minute match. Punk faked an injury. Mox hit him with a DDT and it was over. It was a squash match. It was bullshit. Reminded me of you go, and then I was like, did they do the fucking finger poke of doom? And he goes, yeah, I think it was a finger poke of doom. And I was like, oh shit, well that sucks. I was like, I was really looking forward to that match. And so I that's all the only context I had. Right. And then I tweet out the finger poke of doom thing. I'm busting balls, even though I hadn't actually seen the match myself. And then you say, this is the fucking awesome. This is Buddy Rogers, Bruno Sammartino stuff. And then I'm looking at the conversations. At this point, I still haven't watched it yet. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, no, it's not the finger poke of doom. I was like, oh, that's what I was told. I haven't seen it yet. And then, so now it's getting built up the other way. So first I'm thinking it's the worst thing in the world. And then I'm looking at what you're saying and I think it's the greatest thing in the world. And then I watch it and I'm just like, oh, it's kind of like what Goldberg and Brock did, but I just thought the Goldberg and Brock was better. And maybe because I thought I didn't know that was coming, but I kind of knew this was coming already. So the moment had been killed for me. So I didn't get to experience it the way that everybody else experienced it. And I also have an issue with the fact that he is doing this injury angle, but he's also going to wrestle in 10 days. So now they got to work that into it. I'm sure they'll tell a story and it'll be fine. But I was like, oh, but if when Goldberg did the thing to Brock was just distracted, right? That was how they did that finish. This one is like, oh, this guy is really hurt, but now they're really going to do the match in 10 days. If they had a competent doctor, they wouldn't actually let him wrestle. So they got to clean that up, and I'm sure that they will. But that was kind of like in my head at the time.
So let me throw this at you. This is why I loved it. I say every week, and we both say every week on this show, that good wrestling matches, good long matches, we see them all the time. And it
Yep.
happens so much they get forgotten. Josh Alexander and Alex Shelley, phenomenal match, one of the best matches in Impact history, has kind of already been forgotten about.
Yeah.
So I say every week, it has to be about more than matches. Has to be about more than matches. What we had last night was finally what I'm looking for: storytelling. You had two stories that coincided. You had CM Punk's story of this guy who's been hurt, who has his chance to come back, who talked a lot of shit, right? Talked a lot of shit about Jon Moxley. And then he gets beat. He's hurt, but he got embarrassed in the same city where he had his greatest embarrassment against Mickey Gall.
Yep.
Right? Same
Yeah.
exact place.
Shout out Ryan Frederick for that, by the way.
He's right. I didn't think about that till that too. Then you have Jon Moxley. The story of Jon Moxley all year is that he is the guy who picked up this company when everything was at its worst, right? And he has been on a tear. He is, in my opinion, the best wrestler of the year for what he's done in various places, doing different kinds of matches, different stuff. But he's had this asterisk. He's the interim champion. He's made the whole thing. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. So Jon Moxley overcomes and puts a statement out. Not only does he beat Punk, he beats the shit out of Punk. So in this moment, you take two stories. Again, storytelling is what? Character A has a goal, something is standing in his way. Does he achieve it? Does he fail? You had those two stories coinciding to make a great story. And if it was a 25-minute match that would have been really good and what we expected, it would have been forgotten about in 10 days. Now you've got something that nobody saw coming and that people are talking about. Right? You create more buzz by having something short and unexpected than you would have by doing what everybody else thought it would have been.
Yeah. So I just think that, and this is just my opinion, I still think that it worked and it was an effective. It's getting people talking. I think that's important. We'll see in a couple weeks if it actually works, and we'll see what the buy rate is for All Out when they redo. So we'll see if it actually did work. I think that it would have been more effective and that Moxley would have looked more like a badass if he would have taken advantage of a CM Punk mistake, right? Instead of a CM Punk accidentally getting hurt, right? And the same thing happens. And I know we try not to use MMA or boxing psychology, but in MMA, it's kind of like when Conor McGregor threw a leg kick and he broke his leg, and then the guy pounced on him and knocked him out. Is the guy that pounced on him and knocked him out, is that guy now a badass? Or did Conor McGregor hurt himself? And that's what it is. So the story is like, hey, this isn't about Jon Moxley being this big badass. CM Punk just hurt himself by accident. So, and I'm like, okay, so what I would have done, this is armchair quarterback, Monday morning quarterback. Similar situation to the Goldberg thing where Brock just turned his back on his opponent like an idiot and Goldberg took advantage. I felt like that was a little bit more effective than Punk accidentally getting hurt and then Moxley hitting the armpit drops on where he does this. He holds him up and he armpits him on the side of his neck.
He doesn't quite do it as good as Danielson does it.
Those are the shittiest fucking elbows, but he just hits him with the armpit like he's doing the Nasty Boys, Pity City. He does that and then hits him with the 2 DDTs and calls it. That's a minor thing that I'm just pointing out what I would have done differently.
Counterpoint, in that building, Moxley was the guy, right? Yeah. When they go to Chicago next week, Punk is going to be the guy. So the story is going to be, 100%. Can Punk overcome? So you have like this Bret Shawn thing going where in Ohio, Jon Moxley is the guy everyone's going to love. When Punk comes here, now the story is, can he overcome his injury? That's wrestling 101, right? So, and is PCM Punk going to be a heel? I think so. I think the new Pinnacle is going to be a thing. So, but that can't happen in Chicago. It's going to be interesting to see if they try. But I do think that is going to be the thing. I think it was super effective from a storytelling point of view because good wrestling matches are a dime a dozen. We had a phenomenal 6-man tag team match in the main event that lost.
Kip Sabian, you fucking asshole.
Kip Sabian is not the reason why they lost viewers. It was the reason why they turned me off. I was like, what the fuck? But
that was one of the greatest trios matches I've ever seen. By the way.
Absolutely was. And it was an unbelievable match. But we see them all the time.
Yeah. It didn't
all the time.
It didn't mean anything. You know what meant the most? Kenny Omega coming out at the end and confronting Will Ospreay. That's all people care about.
It wasn't another show. What people cared about was that 4-minute match. Whether you loved it or hated it.
Yeah.
it was a moment that made people talk, which is what
Yeah.
AEW kind of needs right now, is something to create discourse.
Yeah, well, and what they do, they create an element like the next time we don't know what's going to happen, and I think that's important. And WWE did it with the Brock and Goldberg thing. They threw us off, and we got a moment we didn't see coming.
I forgot about that until you mentioned it too.
Yeah.
So yeah,